All right, thank you. So before I get started, I'm going to ask if any of those who are sitting in these beautiful chairs would mind coming a little bit closer this way. Otherwise, I'm going to have to scoot very close to you. I'm a very in the energy of the room type presenter. So when you're very far away, it makes me feel like I smell or something. So, which I don't, I promise. All right, so thank you guys very much. We're also going to be doing a little bit of movement. We're going to be assessing each other's feet. So please take off your shoes and socks. If you need to do a little bit of an airing out, you may do that now. Okay. All right, so as was introduced, my name is Dr. Emily Splichal. I am a podiatrist. So I wear several different hats. I wear a hat as a clinician. However, before I went to podiatry school and kind of traveled down the path of medicine, I was in fitness and with athletics. So my true passion lies in functional movement. As a clinician, I look at all of my patients very much in an integrated perspective. So if you've ever been to a podiatrist, or you might have a opinion on podiatrists, as very get in your shoes, wear your orthotics, you must be in these artificial supportive kind of foot coffins. That's not the hat that I wear. I wear very much of this integrated approach. I bring that approach to all of my education and certifications. I specialize in barefoot movement, and I actually try to get my patients out of their orthotics so they can understand the natural movement of the foot. So we're going to be looking today at transverse plane power as it relates to from the ground up. So how can you tap into transverse plane power originating with the movements and the strength of the foot? Because when you start to understand and appreciate that, it is huge. It might be the missing link that you're using with your clients, or that you're missing with your clients or your athletes. If you can get a subtle control of your big toe joint or your subtalar joint, you may be able to tap into faster stability here, which is going to translate to greater power here. Okay? So we know that the power lies within the transverse plane. Oftentimes when we think transverse plane, we'll think large rotational movements, whether you're kicking, throwing, punching, etc. So they're very much focused here. However, I also want you to think about transverse plane power here. So even though that swimmer is moving in a sagittal direction to get off of the blocks, if you look at the foot, the back foot, you can see that there's going to be a lot of rotational power coming off of that foot, tapping into the hips to get the power of push-off. Same thing with this. Any of your runners actually have a rotational power. When I look at any movement, a closed chain movement particularly, I look at the spiral movements that exist within the lower extremity. So to me, a squat is a rotational movement. It has a spiral element to that. Being able to tap into that spiral movement, again, is going to be what we're focusing on. So, lower extremity transverse plane power allows us to tap into which muscles? Bam, your glutes. Right? Your glutes are a very powerful transverse plane rotational muscle. If you look at your glutes not just as a very powerful hip extender, but as a very strong external rotator, then you want to start asking yourself, what is the movement of the foot that I want to be tapping into? Because ultimately, if we go back here, to me, when I see someone pushing off of the blocks, I'm honing in on the foot. I'm looking at how much they're pushing off of that great toe. If you have a compromised first MPJ or great toe dorsiflexion, it has to influence your glute strength. It has to. Integrated kinematics will support that. So if you're looking at glute function in your clients or your athletes now and you've never assessed their feet, or you've never looked at and zoned in on how they're pushing off of that great toe, you might be missing a huge piece of how you can tap into their power. So again, we're going to be looking at this. So the function of our glutes in the transverse plane, or rotation, is going to be external rotation. If we're going to be improving our athletes' performance from the ground up, you want to appreciate two things with your feet, and I'm going to teach you how to tap into both of those. Anytime you think about the foot, I want you to appreciate two things. First is biomechanics. However, you do not want to just look at the foot as a biomechanical structure. Yes, there's a lot of biomechanics that are happening. How much dorsiflexion? What is their power of supination? What is their first MPJ dorsiflexion? All of that is biomechanics or kinematics. However, you still must appreciate neuromuscular control. because oftentimes neuromuscular control will trump biomechanics. If I look at all different foot types, you guys probably look at different foot types, and you see a severely pronated collapsed foot, you would probably say, like, I would even agree that they should be in orthotics. They're going to have compromised function. However, looking at thousands and thousands of feet, there are high-level, top-performing professional athletes who have severely pronated feet, and they're not in orthotics. They train the neuromuscular control of the foot. So neuromuscular control can trump biomechanics if you train it the right way. So it takes a little bit different spin. And it actually allows me to challenge the way that I was taught as a podiatrist. So if you ever send your athletes or your clients to a podiatrist, and you're like, why does every podiatrist send or refer their clients or their patients into orthotics? It's because podiatrists are taught only biomechanics. I was never taught neuromuscular control, fascial integration through podiatry school. So it's something that you want to just kind of understand. Okay, they're looking at things just as biomechanics. You cannot do that because neuromuscular control can trump biomechanics. So if we look here, if you're looking at the power of push-off, transverse plane power from the ground up, you're looking here. You want to see the influence of the foot on the rotational power of the glutes. Here, what are some of the key movements that you're noticing? And they're listed there, but I'm just making sure you're awake. The key movements that you're seeing. Hallux dorsiflexion, right? They have 90 degrees. It's listed, but trust me, repeating clicks it into the mind. So I would actually have you writing all of this down if you were in one of my workshops. So when you see the foot, that's what I want you to see. Don't just see the ankle, don't just see the big toe. Know that we actually have what's called a first ray. Your first ray is going to greatly influence your big toe. If your first ray influences your big toe, it's going to influence your glutes. Your goal, get into those glutes. The ankle plantar flexion you see, but directly below your ankle is your subtalar joint. So you want to know how to tap into your subtalar joint. This is going to translate higher into the external rotational extension power of your lower extremity. So we're going to focus on that to allow you to tap into this. Okay, and we're going to be doing some movements and assessments. So we're going to stand up. I'm going to get you moving. So how many of you have ever taken a workshop in feet, foot mechanics, barefoot science? So how many took Dr. Martino's session? Hopefully all of you raise your hand, yes. Okay, perfect. So your rear foot, your ankle and subtalar joint are the two joints of your rear foot. When you move your subtalar joint, which is formed by your talus and your calcaneus, if you guys stand with your feet shoulder width apart, roll your feet side to side, you are moving, yes, you're moving your foot, but you are moving your subtalar joint. You are tapping into your talus and your calcaneus. What plane of motion does your subtalar joint move in? Not all three. We'll go into that if you want to. We'll go down the route of supination and pronation soon. Don't worry. What plane of motion is that? Frontal, right? So in your mind, I want you to think frontal plane foot is going to drive a transverse plane hip. So if you can optimize frontal plane function of your foot, you will be able to tap into the power of the glutes. This includes when you are doing squats. It's not just in a push-off position. So the movements of your subtalar joint, outside, inside, are, what are they called? Perfect, yes, thank you for playing my game. Okay. Yes, inversion and eversion is the frontal plane motion of your foot. When you are on the outside of your foot, what is that? No. Outside, what is that? Inversion, yes. When you roll onto the outside of your foot, you are in inversion. When you roll onto the inside of your foot, you are eversion. Which of those two is considered stable? Neither? No. Try not to think of it as which is dysfunctional, right? If you're on an extreme of either side, yeah, that's not good. However, we all invert and evert with every step that we take. Okay? Which one is considered more stable? Inversion, perfect, right? So when you think about the neuromuscular control of power and foot, Stability is the foundation to power, which means if you seek power, you seek stability. If you seek stability in the foot, you seek inversion. Make sense? So if you have a client or an athlete with an overpronated, collapsed, flat foot, that means that they are unstable. They can only tap into so much of their power because their foundation is not stable. You want to appreciate that. So they are seeking inversion. They're seeking stability, okay? We have more inversion than eversion. You have twice as much inversion as eversion. I will make an argument that your body seeks power. The biomechanics of your body, the neuromuscular control of your body seeks power. Twice as much subtalar joint inversion versus eversion, okay? So when we move, we normally do not do this. This is not how you move, right? This is so that you can appreciate it. How do you actually do inversion? Show me a movement that's actually involving inversion. Right, so if you're, okay, I'll show the easier one. Okay, show me eversion in a movement. The bottom of a squat, as you're going down into a squat here, right? I'm essentially everted, right? This is not how we evert, this is how we evert. So this would be an everted position. What would be an inverted position? This, right? So what I just did is I moved what other joint? What joint am I moving? My ankle, right, exactly. So think about your ankle and your subtalar joint together. There's what's called joint coupling. So every time you move your ankle, there's a coupled motion in your subtalar joint. The movements of your ankle are dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, right? Plantar flexion is coupled with inversion. So when you are seeking power or stability, you are seeking plantar flexion, and then you're seeking your inversion, right? So they're actually coupled. Dorsiflexion is coupled with eversion, right? So anytime you're squatting, you are everting, okay? If we go back, because we have one more plane to talk about, and we are here, if you're moving your feet side to side, right? Do you feel or see that your knees are rotating? Yes? Right? So your knees are going in, your knees are going out. So that would be the rotational movement of your lower extremity. Whenever your tibia is rotating in, what subtalar joint position is that coupled with? Which one? Mike, you can't answer the question. Eversion, yes. So the couple that you have is dorsiflexion, internal rotation, and eversion. That is the loading phase of power. You must be able to control dorsiflexion, internal rotation, and eversion if you want to load for power, right? You only have as much power as the energy that you load. So you have to load to unload. So you must be able to control the deceleration phase, which means you have to control internal rotation, dorsiflexion, and eversion. So then your power, the opposite, external rotation, which is what we're trying to tap into, is coupled with plantar flexion and inversion, right? So when we were here, what I see in that position, or what I see when somebody's pushing out of the blocks, is I see plantar flexion, inversion, and external rotation. That's what I'm trying to get. That is called supination, which means your power of your glutes is limited by the rate of supination, because the only contact point between your body and the ground is the foot. So you want to be able to tap into the ground. The way that I look at the ground is that is your power source. If you do not own the ground, which means not just controlling impact as you decelerate, but also using the ground to push off. To fully use the ground to push off, you must be controlling that movement of your foot, all of those movements, okay? Have a seat for a moment. I'll have you stand again in a moment. All right. So, eversion, inversion. Anytime you're looking at the foot, who looks at their client's feet right now or their athlete's feet? Does an assessment. Awesome, good, good, good. Okay, perfect. So if we look at the foot from behind, and we're going to do this soon, and I didn't get to ask you, Mike, if you can help me when we do this part. Okay. So when you assess the foot, you always want to assess the foot from behind. If someone is coming up to a conclusion about the foot and they're never looking at them from behind, it's not valid, right? You cannot make a foot type based on looking at it from the front. So from behind, you're looking here. Do you see the picture on the left? That is eversion. Yes. So if there's a concavity on the outside of the ankle or the foot, that is the eversion. What is the rotational position that they're in? What position is their tibia in? Internal rotation. Power lies in external rotation. Do you think they have an issue with power? Yes, why? Perfect, right? If you have excessive internal rotation, the rate of your supination is going to be slower. Especially when it comes to athletics, everything is about time. You got to get off of the ground. That foot does not move fast because that is too much eversion and too much internal rotation. So, should they be in orthotics? Possibly. The purpose of orthotics is to pull them out of eversion and get them into a baseline neutral. So then they can better control this dance of movements. How about the position on the right? That would be inversion, right? They have a concavity on the inside. What do you think about their power? Or their rate of supination? Their rate of inversion? They're already there, right? They're just great, right? So that foot position actually favors speed. You can actually look at clients' foot types, or if you work with young athletes, think like junior high, high school, you could actually see and push them into certain sports based on their foot type. If you have an overly inverted supinated foot, you probably move very fast. I would push you towards sprinting. Right? Anything that requires very fast get off of the ground, they're going to get off of the ground faster. So we want to understand the baseline, and I'm going to talk about this again soon. Okay, so the joint coupling we went into. Which muscle of your foot is considered the most powerful inverter or the most powerful supinator? Which muscle of your foot? Mike, you can't answer this. Which one? Yes, your posterior tibialis. Posterior tibialis is a very deep muscle. It is deep to your gastroc, your soleus. It's in the deep compartment of your lower leg. It comes out behind your ankle bone, and it inserts on a bone called your navicular. So if you take your thumb and you put it on your inside ankle bone, I'm going to teach you the quickest way to find your client's posterior tibialis. Thumb goes on the medial malleolus. Go one thumb down. You feel that indent, right? That's called your talus. Go another thumb down. Do you guys feel that bump? Yes? That's a bone called your navicular. We don't need to go into that too much, but that's called the navicular. That's where your posterior tibialis inserts, on that bump. When it inserts onto that bump, it fans out and it has 9 attachments. So it is like a hand that goes underneath the bottom of your foot, grabs the entire foot, and pulls it into inversion. So this is a very powerful controlling muscle. We're going to see that this muscle is actually connected to your pelvic floor and your diaphragm. So when you think about deep core stability, you want to tap into that muscle. I see many patients with tendinitis and dysfunction in this muscle because they have a diaphragm or pelvic floor issue. You always want to remember that your body is integrated. If you lose function of your posterior tibialis, you lose power in the transverse plane. Okay? So our goal is going to be optimizing the rate of inversion or supination. I will show you how I do that. Okay? Next joint that we're going to look at is your big toe. First MPJ, great toe, big toe, whatever you call it. How many degrees of dorsiflexion do you need in your big toe? To push off. Sorry, I didn't finish my sentence. To walk. 90 is what that picture was before. You need 90 degrees if you want to wear 5-inch stilettos, ladies. So, just as a screen, if you want to screen your clients for high heel wear, okay? You do not need 90 degrees to walk. To push off many athletic movements, you do need 90 degrees. Many athletic positions, you do need a lot, because the more you push through that joint, the more power you're tapping into. Minimum is 30 degrees. Minimum of 30 degrees. Awesome is 65 degrees, like super awesome is 90 degrees. Okay, when it comes to your big toe joint, let's say you need 30 degrees. When you look at your big toe joint, you need what's called first ray mobility. Who has heard of the first ray? Good, a few people. Okay, so what I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna grab your foot with one hand. You're gonna grab, so the long bones in the foot, those are called metatarsals. Okay, so you're gonna grab metatarsal 2, 3, 4, 5 with one hand. Take your other hand and grab metatarsal 1 and move, if you can see, I don't know if you can see on the camera, right? Move the first ray up and down, or move the first metatarsal up and down. Right, so you're essentially doing this. Do you feel how it moves? Right? That is called your first ray. Your first ray has its own axis, which means it moves on its own. It has its own function. The purpose of your first ray is to influence the movement of your big toe. So if you've ever read anything about the big toe, you've gone to any lectures where they speak about the big toe, you can make a connection about the big toe and the glutes. You don't have big toe motion, your butt shuts off. Have you guys ever heard that? Well, now you have. So, if you can't get over your big toe, your glutes shut off. The reason why, if you can't do dorsiflexion of your big toe, why do you think your glutes would shut off? Perfect, right? Think of it with just walking. If you cannot get over your big toe, you lose hip extension. If you lose hip extension, you become very anterior dominant. That's going to reciprocally inhibit your glutes. If that is an athlete, you could see this as a problem, right? However, with any of your clients, this is a problem. So if you have any client or athlete with, let's say, SI joint pain, you have to look at their you have to look at their first MPJ. That might be where the problem is. I'm going to show you how to assess that, okay? So first ray is going to dictate your big toe. We saw the movements of the first ray. The key thing, and if this doesn't make sense, I apologize, but the key thing of your first ray is that it must plantar flex. You must be able to plantar flex your first ray to get over your big toe. Baseline, just put it down and then read a bunch of stuff I have on my blog about this if it doesn't make sense yet, right? This is key. You cannot talk about the big toe and try to increase big toe range of motion without talking about the first ray. It's like missing 90% of the equation, okay? Do you see that when you go like this, I go like this, what's actually happening is my foot is going that way. Does that make sense? So I want you to see that when someone is pushing off. Yes, they're dorsiflexing their big toe, but the foot is moving back. What moves your foot back is a muscle called pronaus longus. You must be able to tap into the pronaus longus. This muscle, where are your perineals? Outside here, right? Like your lateral calf, it goes behind your ankle bone. So we now have another bone that we can identify here. So if you go on the outside of your foot, do you feel that bump on the outside of your foot? That's your fifth metatarsal. Go one thumb back, one finger back. Underneath there, that's where your pronaus longus runs. That, go one finger back, underneath here, that's called your cuboid. So your pronaus longus runs under your cuboid. Runs across the entire bottom of your foot and it inserts on the inside. So it is a very long tendon. It inserts onto your first metatarsal. It plantar flexes your first metatarsal, your first ray. It is critical in the way that you get over your first MPJ. So why is this important? And how can foot type influence that? One, huge, is that your posterior tibialis, which influences what? What does your posterior tibialis influence? Yes, the rate of supination. Your glutes are only as strong as the rate at which you can supinate your foot, or invert, right? Your glutes are only as strong as the rate that you can invert your foot. The muscle that inverts your foot is the posterior tibialis. To push off big toe joint, is influenced by what muscle? We just said it. Pronatus longus. So you can get over your big toe based on the rate that you can plant or flex your first ray. Make sense? Maybe it's like, whoa, this is way too early and you've had way too much coffee. I have no idea. Could be that, okay? But please do review. This makes sense once you start to explore it, okay? These two tendons attach to each other, which means they are integrated. They influence each other. Where this is going to make sense is I'm going to have you stand up again. Stand up, please. When you are in, here. When you are in that position of the left, that's called what? Eversion, right? That's called pronation. When you are in that position, maybe you collapse to the inside of your foot. What happens, what I want you to see when you see that foot, is you see instability. What also happens is that you put your peroneus longus and your posterior tibialis on slack. You create dysfunction in the two muscles that you need to tap into your glutes. Not just because that's overpronated and is biomechanically unstable. I am talking about muscles and their fascial integration. You cannot achieve that with that foot. So when you are assessing the foot, and we're going to do this real quick, is you're going to do it directly from behind. So the way that we're going to assess the foot is 3 ways. Here. 3 ways that you're going to assess the foot. Can I have a volunteer? Ooh, maybe someone who has like a bunion or something. Do you have a bunion? Do you have arthritis in your big toe joint? Does anyone have arthritis in their big toe joint? Does anyone's big toe joint hurt ever? Do you want to come here? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to have you. Can we go up here with the camera, or do you want me here? Right here? Here? Okay. Perfect. All right, so you're going to roll your pants up. Oh, yeah, you do have bunions. Okay. Not bad ones, not bad ones, not bad ones. Okay, good. So you're going to turn to face that way. Okay? Good. All right. So she's going to stay here. You guys can move here. I know you have to keep a little center thing here, so I apologize. We'll just make 2 little, like, whoop, come here. And then Dr. Martino is going to help me as you guys assess each other. Okay? Understanding inversion, eversion. So this is the thing when it comes to foot assessments, right? Your conclusion of your foot assessment is only as good as your assessment, right? Which means if you're assessing wrong, you're going to kind of go down this rabbit hole of all these things that the foot is driving, and they might not have that foot type. So you really want to get, I mean, you have to like hundreds and thousands of feet. You want to just like assess everybody. Just assess neighbors and family and friends and just get in the habit of it, okay? So key thing first, I'm going to have you have a seat. And you're going to rotate this way. You're going to do a 180. There we go, perfect. Good, cool. All right, so when we're looking at power, we are thinking about first MPJ, subtalar joint. Really in this position, we're just thinking about the push-off position right now. Ankle dorsiflexion doesn't really matter in this situation here, okay? I would normally assess ankle dorsiflexion and all of that at the exact same time. However, for the sake of this lecture and optimizing push-off position, I don't care about dorsiflexion, okay? So your open chain assessment is going to be looking at the first MPJ. Why would you want to assess first MPJ, open chain, and then closed chain? Why do you want to do both? Why do you need to do both? Passive active, okay? Knowing what their baseline is, right? Remember the assessment thing. You could say, oh my God, they're totally compensating. They have, right, they're doing this, like locking at this and blah, 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 into like a functional way. They might have severe arthritis that they don't even have range of motion here, open chain. You must rule that out, okay? So you're gonna bring your legs straight. All you're doing, this is very intensive. You're gonna move the toe. Okay, so you have range of motion, okay? So what I'm doing there on the picture on the left, do you see how my hand is kind of underneath the met heads here, right? I'm blocking the first met heads, right? So as I do this, which way does the first metatarsal want to go? Down, right? Because that's what it does mechanically. However, the ground gets in the way, so I have to block it a little bit, and then I do that range of motion, okay? So she has sufficient range of motion, even if I block it, okay? You would be surprised, and it seems kind of like, well, I'm just moving the toe. Trust me. You will be surprised. You will find that client that has like compensated in every lunge, and when they do push-ups, they do this, and they do all of these compensations, and you're like, oh, shoot. I almost swore. Oh, shoot, they have arthritis, and it's like, you're just like, what in the, right? Okay, so if that's the case, have them get an x-ray, have them take a picture of their x-ray and show you their x-ray. And if you see that it is like bone on bone, that is structural. You cannot increase that range of motion. I have many professionals who are like, well, I just have my clients like crank on their toe and they distract their toe and they like, right? Don't do that, okay? I've had many patients fracture their spurs. All of the spurs that get laid down, they'll fracture them because they watched some video on YouTube that said do this and all that, so, okay? So she has the potential. So if she compensates through her first MPJ, I know that it's not structural, it is what? Functional, yes, okay? Then you're gonna stand up. You're gonna turn and face this way. Perfect, good. You're gonna stand with your feet shoulder width apart, your heels directly behind the toes. Excellent, good. You're gonna stand nice and relaxed. Okay, as she is there, if you're looking directly from behind, you wanna look to see if she has concavity on the outside or concavity on the inside. If you look over here on the inside of her foot, you could start to see a little bit of a break. So she's slightly everted, slightly pronated. If you turn and face the front now, just because I wanna show them something added to it, and bring this foot straight. Good? Okay, good. So if you look at her from the front, and if you can't see her, maybe just pop in front of the camera a moment. Here, where does it look like she's passing through her ankle? Does she look like she's centered through her ankle? Do you see like there's any kind of jamming in the ankle? I was just spoken a little bit if you guys went to the squat lecture before, right? If you do a little squat first, just so I can accentuate, stay there. Do you see right here, right? That's what I want you to look at. So if the lines, the crease of the ankle dorsiflexion line, right? You want to see that they're passing the anterior aspect of the ankle. If you can rotate and just face both sides so they can see you. And they'll squat this way. Perfect, and squat, right? Do you see how she's over here? So I want you to start to train your eye to just see that she is jamming the lateral aspect of her ankle. Thank you so much. Model. Okay, good. Okay, so that would be the eversion or the pronation. Okay, she's jamming the outside of her ankle. Which one, if you think from an athletic perspective, you can actually jam the lateral gutter and create a capsulitis. I have many, many patients who they have lateral gutter pain, which just means pain right here, which happens to be where your ATFL ligament is, your ankle ligament, and they are treated for ankle sprains. That's not an ankle sprain. They are jamming their ankle joint. You want to stay centered in your ankle joint, okay? So if she is everting or here, what that means in your mind is she has first ray instability. If you have first ray instability, what joint are you going to influence? What joint are you going to influence? What does first ray influence? What joint? First MPJ, yes, perfect. So if she had issues of pushing off and I saw that was her foot type, I'm not surprised because it goes hand in hand. If you are everting, you are essentially unlocked. If you unlock your foot, you destabilize your first ray, which means you jam your big toe. She's going to compromise her glutes. Make sense? Okay? So next you're going to turn and face this way. Perfect. You're going to stand on just your right foot. Perfect. And then I will be your wall. Actually, Mike, can you be her wall? Not that you're better for other things than that, but thank you. And then come up. So what muscle am I testing when she comes up like this? Which you guys are going to do very soon. What muscle are you testing when they come up like this? Ooh. The one that influences the rate of supination? Yes. Okay. What is that muscle? No. Oh. Yes. Good. Okay. Posterior tibialis. Okay, good. So when we plantar flex our ankle, what position should her heel be in? Sorry if I'm giving you a cramp. What position should her heel be in? When you plantar flex, what are you supposed to be doing to your heel, your subtalar joint? Inverting it, right? So you're going to face this way, stand on your single leg again, and then come up. Good. One, she's having a little bit of a hard time. Do you guys see that? Like she's not really like just owning her foot and getting up. That makes sense because of her foot type. She's having trouble tapping into the most powerful inverter of the foot. So she's having trouble locking her foot. Okay? Try the other side, and I have to talk about a few more other things. Are you okay when you go up like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then she's coming up. Perfect. So here, I should be seeing inversion here. She's not really inverting her heel. She's lifting her heel, but is she inverting her heel and locking her foot for power? No. You want to see more inversion when they come up. Okay? Come up one more time. Other thing that you're looking for is across here, is she straight across all metatarsal heads? Is she parallel? Is her lever parallel to the ground? Yes, hers is. She passed that test. Good job. Okay? Good. Perfect. Last one. Turn and face this way. Perfect. You're going to stand there. You're going to stand nice and relaxed. You're going to look straight ahead. I'm going to try to move your toe. Do not fight me and do not help me. Okay? Good. Perfect. Good. So she actually has decent. If you can get your finger underneath the toe, they pass the test. Okay? Getting your finger underneath the toe is a minimum of 30 degrees. If they're lifting the toe, that's obviously cheating. So they need to stay relaxed. Okay? What we're going to do is take a few minutes. Thank you so much. Good. Push you off the stage. Thank you. One more example, super fast. Anyone who does anyone use orthotics? Like really needs the orthotics and uses the orthotics? No one? This is, oh, okay. I need a problem feet. Problem feet, problem feet? Okay, that'll be some good problem feet. All right, good. Okay, so you're gonna start by turning and facing that way, please. Excellent, good. So if we're looking here, bring your feet parallel for me, please. Oops, sorry, drop down on the floor. I totally broke my, my assessment technique already. Okay. So his is tighter, yours is a little bit tighter, but you still have range of motion. Okay? Good. Have you stand up? Turn to face that way. Perfect. Bring your feet parallel, parallel, parallel. Perfect. Good. Okay. What do you guys notice on his feet? Do you see this? Oh my goodness, what is that, right? That's his whole medial column of his foot dropping. Do you think he has first-rate instability? Yes. The whole inside of his foot just fell on the floor. Okay? He actually has what's called navicular drop or a midfoot collapse, unstable foot. Okay? Means compromising power, possibly compromising the big toe joint. Okay? Stand on just your right foot and then lift your heel. Good, good. Okay, what do you notice about his lever? Yes? What do you notice about his lever? It's oblique, right? Do you see that he's not straight across all his metatarsal heads? He's oblique, which means that he's deviating. So biggest thing that you want to take away is that if you are oblique here, you are deviating, which means he's trying to go away from his big toe. Come down, and then onto the other foot. A little bit better on that side. This is not inverted too much. Perfect, good. Come down. Good, excellent. So we're going to take 2 minutes, because I have only 10 minutes, 2 minutes to quickly assess your partner, okay? Just grab a foot and move a foot, okay? Here we go, 2 minutes. Open chain, relaxed position, heel raise. Thank you, Mike. Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
Gary Gray goes over a lot. You know his kinetic is when the foot hits the ground stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys would be like perfect together. So can
Like
you
speaking the same
put
language.
somebody, say if y'all want to just roll them back and forth across the metatarsal head?
Like, could you do that?
Yeah, would that be just to retrain them to
I would first make sure
they can,
that they can do this.
and there's a subtalar open and closes, and you can get that tibial rotation back and forth.
Yes. If you can get that, then you can do it.
Go from regular plantar flexion all the way up, then they're doing
Yep. However, if, let's say they had a structural issue of why they can't get over the first MPJ, and then you're trying to do that, they're obviously going to compensate through that motion.
Right.
Yep.
So you open up the structural first, then we train them how to
Absolutely.
move in, move out, move in,
Absolutely.
move out.
Absolutely. Yes.
Bingo.
Okay. Good. Awesome. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Good. If anyone has very good pathology, let me know. Any problems?
No.
Just trying to find a problem. That's okay. Good. Can I see your foot type?
Yeah, I actually used to play soccer from a Olympic competition.
Oh, look at you.
I think that this actually maybe led to an ACL injury.
Can you turn and face this way? Yep. Good. Yep. And then I'm going to try to move your toe.
I used to use toe spacer on this one.
Yeah. So I'm going to have you just stand relaxed. Don't help me or don't fight me, okay? I'm just trying to move your big toe joint. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to have you bend your knee just a little bit, and then I'm going to rotate your. I'm going to do this. So let me rotate your tibia. Yeah, good. Then you can extend your knee. That's going to be your neutral position. Perfect, good. Okay, I'm going to use you as my example, and I'm just let me rotate the tibia like that, okay?
So let you go towards
Yeah, let me do that,
rotation.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep, okay, perfect, good. All right, come on back, please. Show you real quick how you can correct this and see this spiral. So, come on back, come on back. Come back over here, please. All right, so what's your first name? Stacy. All right, so I'm going to show you real quick Stacy's foot, and it'll help you see how you can start to correct this. One from an orthotic perspective, but I have to talk about short foot. I can't teach without talking about short foot. All right, so here, so Stacy's foot. Do you see her foot? From the front, you can even appreciate that she has a collapse. If you just quickly turn around so they can see you from behind. Perfect, with your feet parallel. Right, do you see she has midfoot collapse, drop down, boom, right, unstable foot. And then over here, she has eversion, bilateral, which means she has a lot of what rotation in her tibia? Internal rotation, okay? If you have a lot of excessive internal tibial rotation, when you think about the knee, most knee injuries, runner's knee, IT band issues, patellofemoral pain, chondromalacia patella, anything going on with the knee is directly related, or often directly related, to uncontrolled tibial rotation. Think of that. So think about how the foot is going to influence that. And she had a few knee injuries as well. So, all right, so you're going to keep your feet parallel here. You can see here that she's collapsing down as well, okay? She actually passes this test, but I'm going to exaggerate it just to kind of show you. So here, if you try to move the toe, you can see it's a little bit restricted because she has a midfoot collapse. If you put them into neutral, which is what an orthotic does, so you're going to bend your knee just a little bit. If I'm going to put her into neutral, yeah, I know. Maybe you could put a one on top in front of it, okay? So with the knee bend, what rotation do I need to put into the tibia for it to get corrected? She has a lot of internal rotation, so I need to externally rotate. Okay, so she's going to lift here and here, good. And then extend your knee, right? Okay, so what I did was this, okay? Think of it that way versus, you know the cue that when you're squatting, you like tear the ground apart? Try not to think of that cue. Think more, I'm lifting and I'm rotating this way. That's what's going to get the foot into neutral versus just this. This is a frontal plane motion. I want to get into a rotational motion, more of an integrated spiral. Make sense? Okay, so she's here. Yep, and then we'll rotate here. Yep, good, good, good. So you're there. So still, she's in neutral. I pretty much did what an orthotic does. That's what an orthotic would do. Okay, now I can massively move her big toe. Do you see that difference? Right? So what I did is I just stabilized her first ray. Drop back down. Right? That's a big difference. Right? And now she's locked up again. Okay? So that's the power of the rear foot on the big toe. How you can start to correct that, one of the easiest exercises is short foot. Who knows or who has not heard of short foot? A lot of people should have heard of short foot. Okay, if you have not done short foot, I'm going to give you the super 1-minute version of it. So I'm going to have you stand up. Now, why you're doing short foot from a biomechanical perspective is the muscle that you are targeting when you engage your foot is your abductor hallucis, your posterior tibialis. Both of those muscles are, what do they do on the subtalar joint? They supinate or they invert, right? So if you have an unstable foot, the key exercise that's going to invert or stabilize or lock the foot is short foot, okay? So when you do short foot, bring one foot in front of the other. And if you've done short foot before, that is totally awesome. So you're going to find your foot tripod, 1, 2, 3. Lift your digits, place them back down into the ground.
Bend your knee.
Bend your knee, yes, thank you. Bend your knee. Did you go over this in your session? Okay, good. Okay, so bend your knee. Why you want to bend your knee is that you're going to be creating a locking mechanism up your lower extremity. If your knee is extended and locked and you sit there and lock your joint even more, you create shear. You start to stress the meniscus, okay? So we are here, your knee is bent. Spread your toes, place them back down. To engage short foot, you're going to push the tips of your toes into the ground. So you're going to drive tips of the toes into the ground. You are engaging and creating stability in your foot. If you can see my foot from the side, you can actually see that the arch lifts every time I do it. You can see the muscle contracting right here. Okay? If you lift your arch, you invert your subtalar joint. They go hand in hand. Any exercise that's going to lift your arch is inverting and locking and stabilizing your subtalar joint. The faster that you can tap into inversion, the more you tap into your glutes. So from a push-off position, if you take a ball and place it between your heels, my ball is in my bag. If you place a ball between your heels, it's actually right here. There we go. That exercise. Can you see the black ball between my heels? Right? So there's a ball between my heels. What I am doing, finding my foot tripod, spreading my digits, placing them onto the ground, driving my toes into the ground, driving my heels together. Lift my heels while driving my toes into the ground the entire time, and then come back down. When you push off, you want to think short foot, push off. So all of your movements are starting with an engaged foot. So if you bring it onto a single leg stance, find your foot tripod, knee is bent, and bring it onto a single leg stance. If you engage short foot, so contract and push your digits into the ground. Keep your knee bent, excellent. Stay exactly there. If you start to engage your TVA or your pelvic floor, you should start to feel your foot contract even more. Do you guys feel that? Right? There's a connection that is happening between your feet and your core. That is the neuromuscular control side of things that I did not get to go into, unfortunately. Right? So your core and your feet are connected. The more stable that your foot is, the stronger it is. The more stable that your core is, the stronger it is. Your glutes are only as strong as your core is, right? We know that, right? You precede glute activation with core activation, stronger. However, key thing here is that your feet cannot just be strong, and your core cannot be strong, and they're over here and they're not talking to each other. Your feet and your core are designed to talk to each other. So what I tell people is that you must be barefoot or train your foot with a purpose, which means anytime you're conscious of your foot, are you conscious of how your foot connects to your core? If you're not building that pattern into your clients, you're missing the power of the foot. It's not just you have strong feet because you're strengthening your foot isolated. We are very integrated. Okay? So different exercises that I do are all built around short foot. If you go to the EBFA YouTube channel, there are many, many exercises on it. youtube.com/EBFA Fitness. All these different exercises and jumps and pushing off, you are doing it through a short foot position. Okay? Something else that I can add is I think there's probably -1 minute, right? So we want to be training our clients barefoot. You want to be activating your foot barefoot because you want to be able to tap into all of those proprioceptors. Remember, you want to be barefoot strong with a purpose. So there is, did you talk about the surface at all in yours? You did? Okay. Okay, cool. So there is a new surface that I just created. It's called Naboso technology. Naboso means barefoot in check, and it is a proprioceptive surface, think mat or training flooring, that's actually going to tap into the proprioceptors of your feet. If you train on this surface, right now our first product is this yoga mat. The mat taps into the proprioceptors of your feet, which means that you're stimulating your nervous system. So you're actually adding, it's like if you're going to take off your shoes and be barefoot, imagine if you could tap into those proprioceptors and get even more out of it. You always want to be barefoot with a purpose. So if you train barefoot now, if you squat barefoot now, thank you. I congratulate you because I'm on a huge mission to try to bring awareness to that. But remember, it's not enough. Are you contracting your foot at the right time? Are you training on the right surfaces? Are you connecting your feet to your core? That's where you're going to get the most out of barefoot training, okay? So you can learn more about this surface at nobosotechnology.com. We started pre-orders on the mat. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with China, and it was a little hard getting all the mats here. So all this fun in production and manufacturing and shipping and all that fun stuff. But do check out nobosotechnology.com if you want this PowerPoint. I believe they have access to it. I uploaded more slides. So you can put your email down if you would like more information on our education. Please do check out our YouTube channel, our website. I have my card up here as well, which links to our website with many videos, and then cards for the Noboso mat as well.